All right, guys, we anodized some titanium. That was fun. Titanium's easy. Yeah, I hate to say it, but that's my favorite part about titanium. Easy to get some colors on there. So have fun with that. Now we're going to do some aluminum. Aluminum is not easy. It's not easy to anodize. There's people that spent their entire lives trying to perfect this. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to hit up Caswell plating. They'll sell you a whole kit. Honestly, I didn't buy the whole kit because I didn't need 5-gallon buckets at the time, or the heaters and all this stuff. I was just going with a small scale proof of concept because I wasn't even sure about being able to get the acid. Go to Napa, tell me you need battery acid. I'll show you what I got. Comes just like this. Little spout. You see I got super tied off because I didn't use it all. Yeah, that's the stuff. Tell me you need battery acid. Once we've acquired all the pieces, including dye, power supply, all this stuff, which you can piece together, or like I said, you can get it in one-stop shop. The one thing that isn't easy to come by, that isn't like, hey, this is exactly what you need, get you a good face shield, get you some good gloves, because we're dealing with caustics and acids. These things will eat you, they will give you cancer, they will kill you. So anybody watching this video, do not do any of this. Not my fault, your fault. Don't do it. Don't ever anodize aluminum. Okay, but if you're going to anyway. But if you would like, you can watch me anodize aluminum. I'll show you my process, what I go through to get some color on some parts. Where are we going to start at? I guess we'll start at the beginning. Okay, so we machined a part. We have machined pieces. We have machined pieces. The next process is to get it as finished as you want it, because whatever finish is on there is going to show through. If you sand it and leave some scuffs, it'll show through. So yeah, it's got to be done. If you want to tumble it, whatever. Then we go to the cleaning stage. And that's where we're going to start off with this. We hook up our pieces. You see how nice and tight those are in a hole. Set screw hole in the bottom of these. And run the wire through, bend it over, shove it back through, and then we put I bend out the top parts of those to give it a little bit of security. But we're going to throw these in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then we're just going to go through. This is out of the manual, the Caswell manual that's free online. I printed off the page that has the constructions on how to do amperage base anodizing. I have a few other little PDFs that I picked up over the years, but for the most part this works just fine. Like I said, I'm not using the 5-gallon buckets, so I did the math for the amount of water, so all my proportions are correct. If you're going to do something different, don't forget that part. You got to do the math. There's more math to come later when we figure out how much juice we need to put into these to get them to anodize. So once you have your part secured, we're going to throw them in, rotate this bad boy right here. Make sure they're submerged. Oh, and of course it would auto light out because, oh well. Come over here, look at me, look at me, look at me. There we go. Sorry for any background noise, my server's right up here. And it's got a heck of a fan on it. Anyway, now that those are in the ultrasonic cleaner, I'm going to let them work for a while. It don't take 5-10 minutes. I'm not going to make you suffer through that. Because typically I don't. I go off and do something else, whether it's getting another set of parts wired up or whatever, so we can keep rolling. Hi, Tat. Hey, good boy. Come see me. Anyway, once we're done with that, we're going to throw it in the degreaser. This is the last time you can touch them. This is the last time you can touch your parts. Make sure they're secure. because otherwise you can touch them with gloved hands, but you still run the risk of getting a smudge of something on there, and it will show through in the anodizing. So clean is clean. We're going to run them through this, and we're going to do a water break test on it. And if they're not clean, we're going to throw them back in there. We're going to clean some more, and we're going to water break test it. Once the water shears off, it can't, think of a waxed car. If it beads up, it's not clean. You want it to soak in and roll out to the lowest spots. Anyway, ultrasonic cleaner, water break test, degreaser, water break test, deoxidizer, water break test. The water break test also gives you a chance to flush off. And I have a bucket set up down here that's nothing but DI water that's just for rinsing. And it has to be changed out periodically because it gets contaminated with a little bit of all the stuff. And once we're done with the deoxidizer, then we go to the fun stuff, which is the actual anodizing, where we're shooting juice to it, building up that anodized layer. After that, we clean that off, and then we get to dye it and put a color in there. And then we get to seal it. That's why this thing here, that's why there's so many steps. And in between each one is a water break test. Rinse in distilled water and spray. It works. So just follow the steps and works most of the time. As long as your parts are clean and don't have defect. Yeah, weird things can happen. But that's part of the fun. All right. Well, I've babbled on long enough. I want to reposition the camera so you can actually see the steps and you don't have to look at this anymore. So, yeah. All right. Pulling our parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Here they are in front of the camera. And they're still covered in DI water and Simple Green. Simple Green is what I run in there for helping clean it up. And I spray it down with distilled water, all the nooks and crannies. And since I know we're on the part, I expect there to be not visible. Touch there if you have to touch. And these parts are a bit experimental, and I shouldn't have done that. Was not thinking. Some experimenting for just making these particular parts, and others for actual testing the anodizing. And what I'm interested in is machine marks and like these little water beads here. I want to see if that makes a difference, or if these make a difference, the sheeting of it and how it's supposed to roll off. Alright, I pre-warmed this up, and we just stick our parts in there and make sure they're submerged. Alright, now that's how you put parts in the degreaser. Ta-da! And what did the construction say? 5 minutes. Fortunately, I got a clock. You seen that? Okay. When we come back, we'll be taking it out of here, moving it over here. All right, guys. Told you to be back. Now, distilled water again. Take these. Let them drain. Save this for the next one. Pro tip. Don't use round. Use a piece of square stock, because guess what? Round likes to roll. It cause problems. Imagine that. All right, we have dripped. A little more dripping. There we go. Let's cover this up to keep it clean. But you see it gets a little dusty in here. I have these parts right here, and under that I have a bucket to catch the water, if you were wondering if I was just spraying things on my floor. Although some is getting on my tripod. All right, I'm gonna go a little closer to this, spray this off. There we go. Now, remember what I told you about touching them? It's bad. And you see how that water's just sheeting off of there? That's what we really want. Let me straighten this bad boy out. And that one too. All right, don't touch it. Like I said earlier, those are going on a tube, so it's not going to be visible. But still, it'll mess with your anodize. So let this drip in. And all right, now we're going to deoxidizing. Basically, this is when aluminum's first exposed to oxygen, it starts to oxidize instantly. There's a small layer of oxidization. If you don't get through that, it's not going to anodize. Or at least it won't anodize in the spot that may still have some. So make sure you get it thoroughly deoxidized. Important stuff. I mean, important little tips I'm giving you here. You know, the same thing can be found in the instructions. How long are we doing this for? Just 3 minutes. That's pretty simple. All right. And into the deox. Completely submerged. All right, we're completely submerged. While that's there, we're going to set up the acid bath. I'm going to make sure the camera can see what I'm doing with the acid bath. This is the fun part. Notice I have it saying anodize. Sulfuric acid, guys. Bad stuff. It likes to eat organic things. Lead sheet. Throw this in here. And one of the keys is to have more surface area for your cathode, negative size cathode. Now let's see if I remember how to operate this bad boy here. Can y'all even see that? Oh, you can. Cool. All right. We're going to want constant current. Turn that all the way down. When we put these in here, we'll turn these all the way up to get our voltage doing what we need it to do so we can adjust the current. Now, how much current do we need? Let me get the instructions real quick. All right, how much current are we going to need? According to this, 4.5 amps per square foot for 90 minutes. You can do more than 4.5 amps. I'm set up to do 5 amps because, one, the math's easier. It just is. You can go up to 6 amps, but the constant current method, you'll see the voltage go up and then start to kind of peak out and then start to go down. And once it's done, it's done. 90 minutes is a good rule of thumb, but not completely necessary sometimes, especially if you're using higher amperage. But the little secret of finding the surface area, like I said, square foot. Fusion gave it to us in square inches. So I took the 5.85 and the 5.63, added them together for both of those pieces. Brought me to 11.48 square inches. And it was real simple. I asked Google how many square feet that was. A lot less likely to mess up letting it do the math for you than, what is it, 144 square inches in a square foot? You have 12 by 12. So yeah, 0.08 square feet. And I put all this on my whiteboard I have next to us over here. Right over there. I'll show it to you. Show it to you while we're waiting. And hit things. There it is. As you can see, I did all my math right here. Please forgive my horrible handwriting. The 0.08 square feet times 5 amps, 0.4 amps for 90 minutes-ish. Okay, now we're back over here where we can see what's going on. Sweet. And it's really interesting because for the most part, anodizing wants you to heat things up, except for the anodized bath itself. The cooler you can keep it, the better. As you run current through it, it's going to heat up. So ultimately, the hard anodizing, the acid bath is actually chilled and temperature controlled. This is just a type 2 anodizing. Basically, is to make it look pretty. Takes dye better than a type 3 anodizing. It's just not as hard, but it is non-conductive, and it does build up a hard layer of oxide on the outside. So that's what really matters. We do have some protection there. I mean, you know, many pieces are anodized with just the type 2 and last a long time. All right. That's been 3 minutes. Pull this out. And you notice how everything's just kind of shearing right off. That's what we want. Take this here. Now back to the bucket and spray. And we'll let it drip dry for a minute. We don't want to leave these out too long because, like I said, they will start to oxidize. But seriously, from my experiments, I've not had an issue with it being so bad that it oxidizes before you have the opportunity. See what I mean about the problem with brown things? And it's starting to get real close to more electricity, which is not a good thing. You want to make sure it doesn't touch. Make sure we're submerged. And 0.4 amps. Let's get 0.4 amps up here. That's right. Do it the other way. And there we go. One thing you don't want to do is to run this up to 5 or 6 amps. You overamp it, what's going to happen is you're going to start plating instead of anodizing. The lead sheet will actually start depositing on the aluminum, which gives a really cool effect. That's what you end up with. And I've been meaning to weigh this because it does feel heavier than the other parts that I anodized that I didn't overamp. I'll show you all these parts once we're done. Alright, so 90 minutes. I just check on my power supply every once in a while, make sure it's still doing what it's supposed to do. Other than that, we'll see you on in a little bit. Alright guys, it's been just a little over an hour and a half. After fixing and adjusting things a little bit here and there along the way, I think we're pretty much done. Let me get some gloves on here. Safety first, you know. Okay. Now it's pretty simple. We're going to turn this off. Turn this back down. Hit that, hit that. I try to be methodical in how I deal with things and pieces, such as this. We don't want to leave in the acid. I mean, our parts either, for that matter. But we'll drop that in our bucket down here and rinse it. And these come out. This is set to the side. And now, same as every other time. Squirt her down. I'm going to get all that acid off there. I'm sure I did all that off camera. I don't know if you can tell, there's just a little bit of like a golden type sheen to it. Anyway, now let's dye these things. Let's take a step to my right. There we go. All right. Got these guys off eBay. It's what I'm using to heat things up with. because the die needs to be at 110. And the die's at 110, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. As you'll notice, at 45-ish right there. This was fun to figure out because they don't tell you which way's which. Anyway, that's 45 degrees Celsius, which 43.44 or something is the conversion. Close enough for government work. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Let that cool down for a second because we want to stick it in the water bucket here in a minute. Because all we need is that up to temp. Is the parts are going to sit in there for 15 minutes and do their thing. I've had some congealing issues with my die. It's very, very funky now. And I don't know if that's something I did or did not do, or all part of the learning process. Or if that thing just got so hot so quick that it cooked it on there. Another thing you're going to want is just all kind of cooking stuff. You need different measuring cups to measure out different volumes and quantities. Yeah, it's just I have a couple. I have like a paint mixing cup. I've got a kitchen measuring cup. I've got the teaspoon measuring spoons and stuff. And as you can see, I use these stirrers a good bit. Just cheap plastic doodads that you can pick up at any. That needs a little assistance back here. Yeah. And now this needs to go to a little over 100 degrees. I'm going to pretty much max it out because the water should be boiling or around 200. And 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 105 degrees Celsius. Use the clock on the wall a lot for this. And I do swoosh it some just to kind of make sure there's not any air bubbles, voids not getting covered. And of course, now that I found out there's some chunks in the bottom of this, that has me concerned because my luck, I'll end up with a chunk on there. And have to deal with that. Because yeah, that's supposed to be my die, but it's chunky. I don't know if it's just getting funky or what. But it is still very much dye. And by the way, these are just titanium wires that I have. I use them for the titanium anodizing plus the aluminum anodizing. Anyway, guys, while the sealant water warms up and while those things die for the next 10 minutes-ish, I think is what we got left on them. I'm going to make y'all not watch this because there's nothing to see. You see what's going on? I'll let you see me pull them out. That'll be interesting. Alright, we finished dyeing. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible either. Just over that. Alright, there you go. Hold it up here in front of the camera. This mess covered up. Always iffy with the dye because it's dye. It's very colorful. Alright. And oh, that's not too bad. There was a chunk or two on it. But we want to wash it out. So you gotta be a little bit careful with this. Because too much will wash the dye. If you hit it with a lot of pressure in one spot, it'll wash the dye out. Let's see here. I like that does fit. Getting nice and hot. know how much I'm going to need to dangle these. This part's pretty simple. To seal it up, we got to get them into some really hot water. That's pretty much it. I do have sealant that they sent with the kit that I have not used yet. Haven't had the need. Excuse me a second, I think I see a booger. Yeah, I do see a booger. Get off there. Get that nonsense out of here for it. Whatever happens, happens. Trying to have nice parts. All right, hang on, let's get this in the seal. Not the RF seal, this kind of seal. Oh, that's not too bad. It did pull off that, the little stringy stuff kind of fluffed up and whatnot, so. All right, that's pretty much it. How long are we cooking it for? It really don't matter. It says 15 minutes. You can do more if you want. Yeah, it should get kind of warm. But like I said, you can do more if you want or feel the need. But evidently 15 minutes will do the trick. Following the recipe. It doesn't hurt it to overboil it, because once it's sealed, it's sealed. So they're just getting hot at that point. All right, guys. I want to let this do its thing. I'll go ahead and pull them out. I'll have them on the dried off and on the mat, and we'll take a closer look at them here in about 15-20 minutes. Like I said before, this one here is the one that I mean, I really cooked it and basically ended up electroplating the lead into the aluminum, which is really cool. When I went to dye it though, you'll see that all the pores are already full. There's a few spots in these interior crevices and along here where it tried to, the dye tried to penetrate some, a little bit in my logo there, but for the most part it was a no-go. Really cool. I'll put that on my gun because it's cool. Here's what it's supposed to look like-ish. I got a little bit of a stain mark. This is actually a bad one. I've already sold all the good ones. So this is the worst one out of the bunch, and yeah, so I mean, I can't sell it. I need to refinish it. As you can see, there's a little bit of a wear mark there from where it's just been sitting around. Like I said, there's a water stain mark here. Get the light just right. Maybe you can see it there, just through here. You know, this I'm not concerned with because it's not visible, but ultimately, since the customer sees it, I want it to look good. All right, now we got these guys. I actually anodized these at the same time, which is interesting. Actually, no, I didn't. I anodized these separate. This piggybacked along with something else. This is one of the first ones I did, and as you can see, it's black. And you can see machine marks in it, but I don't call it the end of the world. You know, especially down that pocket. There they are. It is fully functional, ready to go. Made that for a buddy. Made a couple extra while I was doing it. And what's interesting is the fact that I have another one of these somewhere. But two of these I did together, and I dyed them. I dyed them gun blue, which if you know gun blue, it's supposed to be a really dark blue, almost black. But it has a bit of a light blue sheen, metallic sheen to it. Of course, I'm sure the metallic sheen is because it's made out of metal. But as you can tell, you can see machine marks on this one too. They really stand out here and here. You can see where I flubbed on a toolpath, and it got a little, there's an extra 5 thou right there. And you see the facing operation back here, but you can't feel it. You know, still happy with the part, but it didn't take the color. Sorry about that. Still happy with the part. It just didn't take the color. I don't know what I did wrong, whether just because if I remember correctly, these got stuck, and I tried to restart them again, and of course then it wasn't cooking. It wasn't using any amps. So in that case, it's not it's not going to anodize. As you saw, all of these were on the these two were done at the same time. They were on the same wire in the same bath. But you remember that point where I stopped and said that, hey, we got an issue here, let's try to fix it. Look at that. There's a noticeable color difference between the two. Interesting. And as we look closer, piece of fuzz, there's something right there. Oh, nope, that's just surface funk. I'm cool with surface funk. But there's a few spots where it's a little bit darker, where it took the dye a little better. Right around here, it took the dye better. Right, just right in there. Here's an area where I had issues with machining it, and I want to really show this. The whole reason I anodized this piece was to see how the tool marks. Actually, I had this piece come loose a little bit. It chattered right there, dug in some. Actually, there's a little extra material still left on there. But I wanted to show and see how bad it really looked. And it looks awful. I mean, you know, I wouldn't sell a part like that. But inside, not too bad, but still a little bit lighter. It just didn't take all the dye, which is interesting when you compare it next to something that did take the dye. The easiest thing is the same part that was on there, and it's almost the same size. You can see dark, splotchy, and then it's just a lighter, it's almost gray. It's almost gun blue, which is what that should have been. All right, let's look at this piece. You can see this is actually stock material. It wasn't finished on this side. And you can see where it is just a piece of extrusion that was super glued down. And you can still see the extrusion marks and everything. Which tells you that, hey, you need to finish machine things. You can see the tool marks on the side, but I was happy with them with the way they came off the machine. Yeah, there's that little bite, the lead in, lead out right there. And there's another lead in, or lead out, whichever. Camphor looks good on that side. You can see the facing tool path. Just right there we go. You can see, focus. Focus. Wait a minute now. Oh, there we are. There you go. Yeah, you can see that facing tool path. Good fix for that would be to have one solid tool path going over it instead of multiple passes with a smaller end mill, which is what I did. I mean, not bad for prototype parts. Besides, they're going on my gun anyway, so. All in all, really happy with that one. I wish this one would have came out the same color. Because they're going on the same gun. Maybe. I mean, I don't have to. See, there's more of that funk. Just has some funk built up in there. But this one definitely had problems other than, and I think it was because it stopped anodizing, it got twisted on there, so the anodizing didn't take as well. It did not create the pores necessary to take in enough of the dye to give it that nice dark sheen. Happen to have a different anodized product right here. If you haven't seen these before, you want to go to freelux.com. I mean, Ben makes an awesome flashlight. yeah, it's great. As you can see, I got some wear going on here because I carry this every day. But he does an awesome job of anodizing, and puts my tool marks to shame. But he should. He's running an awesome machine. I need to get me an awesome machine, and that'll fix it, I'm sure. You know, because it's certainly not the Craftsman. Anyway, so there you go. I'm gonna put these on the gun, get them where I want them, be happy with it, and yeah, just keep practicing at what I'm doing. Try not to do this or whatever happened here again. Such is life. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been great. I'm actually going to cut it off here. I'll show you them on the rifle once I get it done. Bye. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. There they are mounted up. Nice and pretty. Looks good to me. Functional. It's going to do its thing. So, yeah, there you go. The ones that are messed up, you can refinish them, but it's difficult, just like anything with aluminum anodizing. You're looking at having to sandblast them, sand them down manually. You have to remove the exterior oxide coating. And if there is some dye in it, you'll know when you get through it because the dye will disappear and you'll have shiny aluminum. So there's options to refinish it. If it's a super cheap part, easy to make, do you make a new one? Do you try to salvage one? Do you wait till you have enough that are bad or a little fugly that you know you throw them all in a sandblaster, do them all at one time, then do another batch of whatever they are? So yeah, all kinds of stuff to take in. I'm still learning all this. I just wanted to share a little bit of my progress. If anybody has any suggestions, please put them down there in the comments. Love reading them. Love to hear what y'all have to say about them if y'all got experience with this. Yeah, but doing it in-house is fun. It's kind of nice, a little easier to control what's going on versus sending them out, having to deal with batch charges. It's like, oh, I've got to run 100 of these just to get them out. You know, if I've got an order of something like this, which is for a custom product, you know, it's going on a 1/2-inch barrel. The stock one's a 7/16. You know, I don't anticipate there being a lot of call for this. So if I can run, you know, 10 or 20 of them off and just have them sitting there and finish them as needed, you know, that makes my life a lot easier, especially if I want to offer more colors but don't want to stock all the colors at one time. I can keep them in raw aluminum and finish them, you know, anodize them and then dye them the color they need to be to make the customer happy, because in the end, that's what it's about. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Click like, subscribe, all that stuff that I never say to do because y'all are grown. You know what to do. You know how to operate YouTube. Have a good one. Thanks again. Bye.